The theory of evolution assumes that the motivational source of energy that animates every life form does not exist. It assumes that an inanimate object or a chemical concoction can suddenly become alive, or animate accidentally or spontaneously. Or, perhaps an electrical discharge into a pool of chemical ooze will magically spawn a self-animated entity. No Western scientist ever stopped to consider who, what, where, when or how this animation happens. Complete ignorance, denial or unawareness of the spirit, as the source of life force required to animate inanimate objects, or cellular tissue is the sole cause of failures in Western medicine. In addition, evolution does not occur accidentally. It requires a great deal of technology, which must be manipulated under the careful supervision of immortal spiritual beings. Very simple examples are seen in the modification of farm animals or in the breeding of dogs. However, the notion that human biological organisms evolved naturally from earlier ape-like forms is incorrect. No physical evidence will ever be uncovered to substantiate the notion that modern humanoid bodies evolved on this planet. What you see now on Earth is the huge variety of life forms left behind. Your scientists believe that the fallacious theory of evolution is an explanation for the existence of all the life forms here. The truth is that all life forms on this and any other planet in this universe were created by laboratories like ours. How else can you explain the millions of completely divergent and unrelated species of life on the land and in the oceans of this planet? How else can you explain the source of spiritual animation, which defines every living creature? To say it is the work of God is far too broad. Every Isbe has many names and faces in many times and places. Every immortal spiritual being is a god. When they inhabit a physical object, they are the source of life. The current theory of evolution of life forms on Earth does not consider the phenomena of biological diversity. Evolution by natural selection is science fiction. One species does not accidentally or randomly evolve to become another species, as the Earth textbooks indicate, without manipulation of genetic material by an Isbe. Without active intervention by Isbes, biological organisms rarely change. The idea that a creature would need to consume the body of another life form as an energy source was offered as a solution by one of the biggest companies in the biological engineering business. They specialized in creating insects and flowering plants. The connection between the two is obvious. Nearly every flowering plant requires a symbiotic relationship with an insect in order to propagate. The reason is obvious. Both the bugs and the flowers were created by the same company. Unfortunately, this same company also had a division which created parasites and bacteria. The name of the company roughly translated into English would be Bugs and Blossoms. They wanted to justify the fact that the only valid purpose of the parasitic creatures they manufactured was to aid the decomposition of organic material. There was a very limited market for such creatures at that time. Consequently, when a species became extinct, there is no way to replace them because the technology of creating new life forms has been lost. Obviously, none of this technology was ever known on Earth, and probably never will be. The core concept behind sexual reproduction technology was the invention of a chemical-electronic interaction called cyclical stimulus response generators. This is a programmed genetic mechanism which causes a seemingly spontaneous, recurring impulse to reproduce. The same technique was later adapted and applied to biological flesh bodies, including Homo sapiens. Another important mechanism used in the reproductive process, especially with Homo sapiens-type bodies, is the implantation of a chemical electrical trigger mechanism in the body. The trigger which attracts immortal spiritual beings to inhabit a human body, or any kind of flesh body, is the use of an artificially imprinted electronic wave, which uses aesthetic pain to attract the Isbe. Every trap in the universe, including those used to capture Isbes who remain free, is baited with an aesthetic electronic wave. The sensations caused by the aesthetic wavelength are more attractive to an Isbe than any other sensation. When the electronic waves of pain and beauty are combined together, this causes the Isbe to get stuck in the body. The reproductive trigger used for lesser life forms, such as cattle and other mammals, is triggered by chemicals emitted from the scent glands, combined with reproductive chemical electrical impulses stimulated by testosterone, or estrogen. The debilitating impact and addiction to the sexual aesthetic pain electronic wave is the reason that the ruling class of the domain do not inhabit flesh bodies. This is also why officers of the domain forces only use doll bodies. This wave has proven to be the most effective trapping device ever created in the history of the universe, as far as I know. The civilizations of the domain and the old empire both depend on this device to recruit and maintain a workforce of bees who inhabit flesh bodies on planets. These bees are the working class beings who do all of the slavish, manual, undesirable work on planets.